The trends, right? So I talked about the industry starting in 1960s. We're sitting in 2022. Obviously, a lot has happened in terms of how we deal with information and technology in the last 50, 60 years, and this is the some of the trends that we have observed. And Sujaya has talked sort of very nicely about the trends across the healthcare value chain. And I'm going to talk more to PV simply because that's the field that I'm a specialist in. So one is, as you can see from the left onwards, there's a lot of the whole idea of collecting data has to have some meaning, right? One is obviously to prevent side effects, but also how do you feed that information back into the discovery of drugs? How do you make sure that side effects that our patients are experiencing can actually go and help and better the way we produce new medicines? So that is something that we're seeing a lot happening in this space. A lot of focus on preventing diseases, right? There's no point getting diseases if you can sort of actually do something about it proactively. And preventative healthcare is something that we're all sort of part of the wellness industry. We know, a lot of us do a lot of things to prevent any diseases from occurring, and that is a recurring trend that we see. And pharmacovigilance is very integrally tied with that, because eventually what we want to do is avoid side effects. Personalization of medicine. Every individual, we've realized over time that there's not one medicine that works the same way in every one of us, based on so many characteristics and so many patterns, from where we come, the kind of food we eat, the kind of lifestyle we have. And so eventually this industry is moving more towards very personalized medication. It's about what drug, what medicine, what preventative activity should I be doing for myself, and not a general understanding of the science. And that's where we're all moving towards, more so now with the increased personalized data that's coming in. There's more engagement. I mean, we're all very aware today, right? Even kids today, they look at the amount of information they have access to. With information comes more engagement. Comes more engagement with not only provider, for example your healthcare provider, but also the companies that are making these drugs. And so we're seeing a lot more interaction between the patient, the doctor, the healthcare provider, and the pharmaceutical companies. And that's really something that is causing. It's a good thing, right? It's a good thing to have interaction. It's a good thing to have healthy discussions, and that's again something that we are seeing big time in this space. And finally, real world data, right? We sit with Fitbits, we have Apple Watches. During the COVID pandemic, a lot of clinical trials, for example, went virtual. There was no possibility to people to actually go to hospitals and give their healthcare data. And so real world data came in, and that's what is sort of defining a lot of what's happening today with our healthcare space, is the ability to get data in real time, get data that is affecting us on day-to-day basis. Having access to that is very helpful, and also changing the paradigm in the way we look at things as to how we actually what do we do about that data. Now, so with that industry, those some of the key trends. What is the impact of that on PV? Because that's the space, as I said, I'm going to talk about. Now, what that has led to is a huge amount of data volume increase, right? It's not just other industries, even PV industry. There's by rough estimates, about 20-30% rise in case volumes, exponential data increase. Not only that, but it's also the type and the formats of the data that are coming in are very different. It's not just coming in from one source; it's coming from many sources, which also means that the data formats are varied. We now get data from healthcare records. We get data from hospital records. We get data from social media feeds. We get data from Twitter hashtags. Somebody wrote a side effect and just marked your company into that tweet. What that means is that somebody is reporting a side effect against your company. So there are these various formats that are coming in. At the same time, the regulatory framework is evolving, right? This whole industry is governed, as we all know, by very strong regulations, starting with the developed countries in the US, Europe, Japan, very strong regulations. But also now, China and India and Australia and other countries are sort of following up with that and saying, all right, the regulations have to be strong in this space. And the emerging world, the emerging economies are also now focusing a lot on strong regulations to govern the administration of medicines and therefore the tracking of side effects. Well, with that, the focus, the last, been in the space for a while. So the focus usually used to be more on the collection of data, collecting and reporting. But the focus now is shifting more towards not just collecting and reporting, but actually to use the data for risk management to ensure that that data that is coming in, does it actually help us prevent certain risks? Can we look at the signals that are coming in from that data, and can we actually do something about it in real time? And so that's something that we've observed, that is a key impact that is there on our industry. And of course, in the industry consolidation, right? And what that really means is that there's no one company that can do everything. A lot of companies are divesting products that they do not want to be part of. At the same time, there are specialized companies that are taking over those products. For example, generic products, specific companies which just do generics. There's a lot of times where you make a product, but you don't actually market a product, right? So that's something that is again extremely prevalent in what we're seeing right now, from an industry M&A perspective and an industry consolidation perspective. All this leads to a lot of impact to what we do in the PV space, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the next couple slides, wherein how all this impact that we are seeing because of the industry drivers, how does that affect us, and what are we doing about that?